Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Retro, and as you can see behind me, I've amassed quite a lot of retro games over the last few years. On my Facebook and on my YouTube channel I get a lot of questions on where do you find your games and how do you find your games. So in this video I want to give you some tips that in my opinion are worth gold to find a lot of retro games without having to pay a lot for them. My first tip is by far the most important one, so pay attention. It's not your wallet that gets you the best games, it's your brain. You have to know more than the other collector or the seller. Because my best buys are not from flea markets or not from people that cleaned up their attics. They are from other collectors or from retro stores or resellers. Why? Because I know more than them about certain retro games. So if you collect NES, know about SNES as well. Know about Atari. Know about Neo Geo. Know everything. At least try to know as much as possible. So visit forums like Nintendo Age, PlayStation Collecting, Racket Boy, Digit Press, etc. and read, and ask questions. Check out price check forums, etc. and make sure that you know that if you find a game it's worth a certain amount, so that if it's priced low you can make a buck on it and you can use that buck to buy new retro games or use the cheap games to trade for retro games. With that knowledge it's even interesting to go to retro stores. Because retro stores have a lot of inventory, are usually overpriced, but do they know everything about GameCube? Do they know everything about PlayStation 1? Resellers usually buy games for a certain amount, double the price, and then sell them. And that works for FIFA and that works for other shitty sports games. But do they know that Castlevania is a rare game? Or that Harvest Moon or JoJo's Bizarre Adventure are PlayStation 1 games that grab a big buck? They don't, but you do. So you can get that game easily and for a low price. My best buys are from resellers, like I said before, and they are your main target that you want to see on flea markets, because finding NES games on flea markets, chances are low nowadays. You will not find a lot of NES games on flea markets, but you will find a lot of games that are worth more than you would pay for, and you can use them as trade bait, add them to your collection, which is of course best, or sell them again to get more money for buying new retro games. My second tip is about flea markets, which are of course a great place to find games because people are usually selling their old attic stuff, etc., kids stuff, and there are a lot of games in there. Nowadays it's usually PlayStation 1 and later, but you can still find Atari stuff, Nintendo NES or SNES stuff, although it's getting more rare. But if you go to a flea market, make sure you bring enough cash. If you want to spend a maximum of 100, make sure you bring 150 or even 200. Because you do not want to be that guy that saw a Mega Man X3 cartridge or even a complete rare PlayStation game or whatever and didn't have the money. So bring extra money. Make sure that you don't spend it if you don't have to, but always have that buffer just in case. 99% of the times you won't find the Holy Grail and you could put that money back where it belongs, but just in case, make sure you bring the extra money. Another thing about flea markets is that you have to get there early, of course, because if you get there late, the best stuff is usually gone. Except if you use my first tip. If you know more than other people and see stuff that other people don't, you can find amazing stuff even at 4 in the afternoon at a flea market when it's closing down. I usually don't go that early because frankly I'm quite lazy, I have to get up all week early and I don't want to waste my Sunday getting up at 5 AM. But I go there at about 11, 12 and I still find amazing stuff. Again, why? Because I know that certain big box PC games are rare. I know that certain Amiga hardware is hard to find. I know where to look and I know what to look for, and you can be that too. Study on retro games. Make it your... Read up. That's the most important thing. Read up and keep up to date. Keep up to date on prices, on rare stuff, and make sure that you are the guy that knows stuff. My third tip is something that's really easy to do. Everyone can do it and it's got me some amazing games over the last few years. Go to your local supermarket and there's always a big board where you can put your ads, like I'm selling my bed, my bicycle, or I want to be a nanny or whatever. Just put on there, I'm looking for retro video games, anything that has to do with retro games, so just specify some famous names, specify Atari, Sega, Nintendo, PlayStation. Just tell them I'm looking for everything for my collection, contact me if you have something. You would not believe the things I've got that way. Complete collections of 40-50 games just in trade for a crate of beer or a pot of flowers or 15 euros or... Trust me, this can be golden. Don't think that they come running to you with a bunch of rare retro games. but in time, trust me, it will pay off. Same goes for your local newspaper. If they have a free ad section, just post there every week, I'm looking for retro video games. Because the good thing is, at least over here, usually it's the elder people that read the newspapers. They have stuff in the attic that belongs to their kids, and their kids are now 30, 40 years old, but that means those kids grew up with the Atari, with Philips Video Pack, Odyssey, NES. That's the stuff they have in their attic. They call you up and say, listen, I have some old stuff, check it out if you want to. They usually don't need a lot of money because they don't know what they have, and that can be your gold mine. I found a lot and you will too, but it needs patience and some social skills, but I'm sure you can manage it. Another thing that anyone can do is ask around. Ask your relatives, ask your friends, ask your colleagues, ask anyone. Or don't even ask, just tell them, I'm a retro video game collector, I love retro games, I love everything from Atari, PC, Nintendo, Sega. Anything is welcome, so if you have anything or hear from someone that they have something, let them talk to me, or send them to me, or whatever. Personally, I found some great stuff, but I know from people that have gotten entire collections, and I'm not talking about 10, 15 games, I'm talking about hundreds of games for crazy low prices just because there was a colleague cleaning out his attic, cleaning out his garage, and said, well, you like old stuff? Here you have all my old stuff. That can be golden, so be sure to do that. It's easy, it's free, and it can get you amazing stuff. My last tip for this video is about sales sites. Every country has its own sales site. We all have eBay, but every country has its own. For instance, in the northern countries you have Tradera, over here you have Marktplaats, and in America you have things like Craigslist. There are a lot of people looking for games over there, so there's a lot of competition. But if you spend time on there, if you refresh enough, and if you contact people fast, you can get some great stuff. Don't bid, at least depending on the site. If you can contact someone, contact them. Most directly is preferred. So don't email them if you can call them. Calling is always best because you have interaction with the person, you can manage a price, be sure to close, always be closing. So if you manage to get a deal on the telephone, get their contact information, get their bank information, and give them your information. Immediately send them the money so that nothing can get in between. If you've already paid, there's a big threshold for someone to cancel the deal because they got a better offer. So always be closing. That was my last tip. So, I hope these tips were worth something for you, and I hope you can add a lot of cool retro video games to your collection. If you want to see more videos, check out the channel, like me on Facebook, facebook.com/drretromd, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye bye!